A denial of service attack occurs when legitimate users are unable to access information system, device, or network resources due to the action of a malicious cyber threat. So this service affected may include email, website, online accounts like banking, or other services that rely on the affected computer or network. A denial of service condition is accomplished by flooding the target host or network with traffic until the target cannot respond or simply crashes, preventing access for legitimate users. DOS attacks can cost an organization both time and money while their resources and services are inaccessible. So, what are the common denial of service attack? There are many different methods of carrying out a DOS attack. The most common method of attack occurs when an attacker floods a network server with traffic. So, in this type of denial of service attack or DOS attack, the attacker sends several requests to the target server, overloading it with traffic, and these services requested are illegitimate and have fabricated return addresses, which mislead the server when it tries to authenticate the request. As the junk requesters are processed constantly in server, the server will overwhelmed, which causes a DOS condition to legitimate request. So the first one is in a smurf attack. The attacker send Internet Control Message Protocol broadcast the package to a number of hosts within a spoofed source network protocol, which means IP addresses that belongs to the target machine. The recipient of this spoof package then will respond, and the target host will be flooded with these responses. A SYN flood occurs when an attacker sends a request to the connect to the target server, but does not complete the connection through. So what is known is there is a three-way connection or three-way handshake, a method that used in a transmission protocol, which means TCP or IP network, to create a connection between a local host or client server. The incomplete handshake leaves the connected port to an occupied status and unavailable for the further request. An attacker will continue to send requests saturating all open ports so that the legitimate users cannot connect. Individual networks may be affected by DOS attacks without being directly targeted. So if the networks are being service which means ISP, if the ISP or cloud service provider has been targeted and attacked, the network will also experience a loss of service. So let's talk about example of denial of service attack. So first one is ACK scan or SYN scan or FIN scan. So these techniques use similar approaches to check whether ports of the targets are open that can be exploited, and they also use to gather information as well as deny services. For example, the ACK scan technique is used to attacker to gather information about the target's firewall or access control list configuration. It features a scan via a target with an acknowledgement flag, which is mean ACK flag, that seeks to identify hosts and ports that are filtered or cannot be scanned in another way. Attacker watches the response from the router to understand the setup. The type of information that can be gleaned from this is particularly when combined with the SYN scan, as the target firewall or target type of firewall, it's a rule set and what kind of packets can get through the host. So at the same time, while collecting vulnerability information via scan, the attacker may also flood a router's open UDP or TCP port to make it crash by initiating a connection attempt but not acknowledging the server response from the open port. Then the attacker can keep the open port open and continuously flood the server with new requests, which is also known as SYN flood. The second one is smurf. So in a smurf attack, the malicious party will target a network whose configuration allow packets to be sent to all services or hosts on the network at once. This is accomplished by sending the ICMP packets to the IP broadcast addresses of the network whereby they reach the all computers. These packets will have as many as sources as the IP address on the target. So by default, the device of the network will then respond to the packet by replying to the spoof source address. This will also be flood the target machine with traffic and overload it or shut it down completely. There are few differences between snarf and what we know as a ICMP flood or ping of death. And scene flood, third one, also known as hub open attack. This is a technique that exploits the TCP or IP three-way handshake. During a scene flood, an attacker repeatedly sends connection requests like scene packets to all ports on the server. Typically, a server then responds with a synchronization acknowledgement packet or sync or ACK packet from every port that is open. If a port is closed, it will respond to and or reset a RST packet. Usually, a client responds to SYN or ACK packets with a acknowledgement packet during a handshake. This is done to confirm that this is or it has received the server's sync or ACK and then communicate between them. That can be comments. However, during a SYN flood, attackers use fake ID addresses to send the initial sync packets. As a result, the server never gets a response to its SYN or ACK packets, and its ports remain open, and it cannot reset them. Before the connection times out, further SYN packets are sent to those ports, prompting the server to keep them open and attempt to establish a connection. This is because ports are saturated with these requests, leading to a denial of service. Teardrop. The teardrop attack exploits a vulnerability associated with the older system and TCP or IP implementation with packets that are very large. For intermediary system like router, the IP specification allow packets fragmentation, then afterward fragmentation are reassembled. However, a TCP IP fragmentation reassembly bug can be found in many older systems. The bug consists of their inability to reassemble the packets whose offset field overlap. Attackers then exploit their bug by launching a teardrop attack by sending packets with a overlapping and oversized payloads, making it impossible for the receiver to get the system to assemble them or ultimately leading them to a crash. Also known as ARP spoofing or ARP attack, this technique involves sending ARP messages over a network to a link attacker MAC addresses to the IP addresses of its target. When this is executed successfully, the traffic intended to lead the target, which is instead to received by the attacker, then which leads to a denial of service. These types of attack can only be performed on a local area that use ARS. And the last one is Fragile attack. The Fragile attack, also known as UDP flood, uses the same approach as the SMARF attack by exploiting a vulnerability associated with the sending traffic to the IP broadcast address of the target, such as router. The main difference is that it uses a UDP traffic to flood a router or service instead of ICMP. The effect is to spoof the IP address of the source that get the request and then direct to the traffic from the network back to the router. Therefore, then it flooded all of it. Both the Fragile and the SMART target attack have largely been left behind as router no longer forward packets sent to their broadcast addresses. So that's all about denial of service as example on a wireless network. Distributed denial of service, which is DDoS. So distributed denial of service attack have the same goals, but the implementation is much more complex and wields more power. whereas a DOS attack relies on a single system or a very small number of systems to attack a victim. So a DDoS attack scale this up by having several attacks go after a victim. So you have a question, how many attackers? Anywhere from a hundreds to a millions in some cases. So let's talk about DDoS attack. So DDoS attack have the same goal as a regular DOS attack. However, the difference lies in the implementation of the attack. A standard DOS attack can be launched from a single malicious client, where a DDoS attack uses a distributed group of computers to attack a single target. So check this diagram for a DDoS setup. So as you can see, there is quite a few parts involved while launching a DDoS attack. Conceptually, the process is quite simple. The attacker first infects a handler or a master computer with a specific DDoS software build commonly known as a bot. So the bot in turn shifts through the victim's network searching for potential client to make slaves or zombies. Note that the attacker purposely choose their handler unit or unit based on the positional advantages. So it will give them their DDoS attack. So once the handler system have the compromised the zombie client that are infected and listening, then the attacker needs only to identify the target and sends the go signal to the handlers. A commonly method of covertly installing a bot of handler or a client is called Trojan horse that carries the bot as a payload. So once the handler and the subsequent zombies have been infected, the attacker continues remotely with the so-called botnet via communication channels such as IRC or peer-to-peer. Tools for creating botnets. So various tools are used to create botnets including Shark, Plugbot, Poison Ivy and LOIC, which is low orbit ion cannon. So let's talk about the DDoS tools. So there are a couple of the tools which is LOIC, Torino, TFN, so TFN 2K and also Eastern Chart. So first talk about Trino. So this DDoS tool use UDP flooding. It can attack single or multiple IPs. Lois, which is low orbit ion cannon, has become more popular because of its easy one button operation. Some people suspect that groups such as Anonymous, which uses DDoS attack as a primary weapon. Then another one is called TFN2K. So this DDoS attack tool is based on TFN and can perform EDP scene and EDP flood attack. And the last one is external dark. So this DDoS tool has similarly attack capabilities as TFN2K. So attack can be configured to run for a specific duration to specify the port. So let's talk about DOS defensive strategies, the last topic. So let's talk about and let's look some of the DOS defensive strategies. So the first one is disabling unnecessary service. So you can help protect against DOS and DDoS attack by hardening individual system and by implementing network measures that protect against such attacks. Second one is using anti-malware. Real-time virus protection can help prevent bot installation by reducing Trojan infection with bot payload. This has the effect of stopping the creation of bot for using botnet. Though not in defense against an actual attack, it can be used as a proactive measure. Enabling routing throttling. So DOS attacks that rely on traffic saturation of the network can be less slowed down by enabling router throttling on your gateway router. This establishes an authenticated or automatic control on an impact that a potential DOS attack can inflict, and it provides a time buffer for network administrator to respond appropriately. Using a reverse proxy. A reverse proxy is the opposite of a forward or standard proxy. The destination resource rather than the requester traffic redirections. For example, when a request is made to the web server, the requesting traffic is redirected to the reverse proxy before it is forwarded to actual server. Enabling ingress and egress filtering. So ingress filtering prevent DOS and DDoS attack by filtering for items such as spoof IP address coming in from an outside source. Degrading service. So in this approach, service may be automatically throttling down or shut down by the event of an attack. So the idea is that degraded service makes an attack tougher and make the target less attractive. Absorbing the attack. So this one is the last one. So another possible solution is to add enough extra service and power in the form of bandwidth, and another means to have more power than the attacker that can consume. This type's defense does require a lot of extra planning, resources, and of course, the important part, money. These approaches may include the use of load balancing technologies or similar strategies. So in summary, we talked a lot about denial of service attack and also DDoS, distributed denial of services. Then the attack method like flooding attack and all of those attack, scene attack. Then we learned about the DDoS attack method, how we can use or control zombie client. Then we explored a number of attack method and tool for performing attack. Lastly, we talked about this, which is preventing measures such as router throttling that you can cause to defend. So you can use to defend against a DOS attackers.